Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Ettarnichi at Ali Dose of Inspiration podcast, and they bring speakers from all over the world to share their story of hope, rebirth, and resiliency. By doing that, we're just giving people like a blueprint and hope that their situation it's not something permanent, but they can bounce back. They refuse to drown. And here, my friend Justin Sandler, his story of hope, resiliency, and rebirth as a cancer survivor. He had a surgery at heart and now he is raising above the obstacle. Please help me welcome Justin Sandler.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ali. Thanks for having me on the show. It's great to be here. I'm honored to be part of such a great message-driven podcast and all the work you're doing. And it means a lot to be teamed up with you here as we kind of help change the world one person at a time.
Thank you very much, my friend. I really appreciate it. And just to dive into your story, my friend Justin, I see that you really went through a lot, but you were just like that bouncing ball. You refuse to give up. The more life hit you, the hardest or the highest you go. You refuse to drown. You didn't want to stay there as a victim, but instead you come out as a victorious. You turn your struggle to success. You turn your tragedy to triumph, and you turn all that struggle, all that challenges to change. Tell us how it started and how that make you feel and how you managed to get out from that dark spot.
Wow. So that's a really loaded question that I could sit and talk to you about for hours. So I'll keep my answer kind of brief and hit some of the bullet points,
Mhm.
and then I'll let you sort of pick the pieces that you want to dive in deeper. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's um, as human beings, the only one guarantee. I mean, there are a few guarantees. I mean, we're going to live and we're going to die, right? But I
Mhm.
mean, one of the biggest guarantees of the human life experience is that we're all going to face challenges. We're
Mhm.
never going to get out without any, the obstacles. Some have bigger ones, some have smaller ones, but I like to say, like, that's one guarantee we all will face every day, sometimes more than one time a day. And they could be really small. I cut my finger earlier. That was a challenge. I had to get that done, get it to stop bleeding, and get a band-aid on and get out here, to do this
Mhm.
interview. I mean, challenges always happen. And
Mhm.
so the biggest thing is not trying to avoid our challenges, but
Mhm.
learning how to encounter those challenges a little better. And it all starts with our perspective. And we can
Mhm.
all easily fall into the victim role, but the thing is that it's very easy to be a victim and it's very unproductive to being a victim.
Mhm.
And I experienced a lot of victimhood when I was younger, especially. I always felt like the world was against me and bad things kept happening to me, and why me and why me and why this and why that. And really, you got to step up and take responsibility. Even if it's not your fault, you got to
Mhm.
step in and own it and just own it. And that really has gotten me through some of the toughest times throughout my life. And I've had my share of, dark times that I've had to go down and deep and pull myself out of. Of course, the biggest challenge of my life came in the spring of 2017 when I was living in an incredible place at the time. Uh, I had my film that I had produced and starred in and wrote, which was just finishing a year-long film festival tour. And we were wrapping up the last of the 21 festivals and awards and things to start another project. That was in that spring of 2017. I had a national commercial that I was an actor in that was airing all over the place. I was playing drums in two bands, physically extremely healthy. I was
Mhm.
competing in the Gold's Gym Fitness Challenge. I was playing flag football,
Mhm.
just really feeling great and feeling like my life was ready for something really big. Like I was about to step into the next great thing that I was doing, and I was all kind of coming together. So
Mhm.
it was like a complete shock when I found that I had an enormous and very fast growing tumor inside of my chest that had adhered itself to my heart, my right lung, and some of my major veins. I
Mhm.
mean, it came out of nowhere. Once we found it, because it was growing so fast, it started to become very obvious. And it was literally like growing right here in the middle and pushing things out of the way. And
Wow.
so we found it. We went right into a massive amount of testing to determine what it was. And after several weeks of figuring that all out, we came to the diagnosis of it being a germ cell tumor. um, Germ cells are biological cells that we all have, and it starts basically as just an embryo. They migrate through the gut of an embryo into the developing gonads,
Mhm.
and then from there they develop and they turn into your egg or sperm, so they're reproductive cells. But there are very rare cases where a germ cell gets stuck somewhere along the way and never makes the trip all the way down, and that germ cell will stay dormant maybe
Mhm.
forever, but a lot of times that germ cell wakes up from something and it just starts to do what it was programmed to do, which is very rapidly reproduce. But
Mhm.
without being in the right place, it can't control itself, and it becomes like this very hot, dangerous, aggressive tumor. So that's what I was facing. I didn't want to do chemo or any of the traditional treatments, but I didn't have much of a choice because I was a few weeks away from my heart being completely pushed, basically crushed. So there wasn't like I could try experimental things,
Mhm.
I try different routes. So I had to accept that whole thing. And that was a big obstacle for me just to, get over that. But I had a port installed in my chest. I moved into the hospital. My treatments were 3 different types of chemotherapy administered 24 hours a day for a week at a time. I had to repeat that every week on, 2 weeks off, week on, 2 weeks off until the tumor was eventually dead. And then by that point, it left behind a hardened, basically rock, fossil, if you will. And I had to go in for a complete open chest surgery where they sawed me open, pulled it apart. They removed the tumor. They had to clip away one side of my heart's pericardial sac, patch it with Gore-Tex. They had to remove about a third of my right lung completely. They had to
Wow.
take out a couple of other small veins. And then they had to take out my main superior vena cava vein. And because that vein can't just be taken out, they had to rebuild it using heart's cow tissue. So I essentially became part cow. And so that was also very shocking, especially as a
Mhm.
vegan, to find out that I was kind of part cow. But that was the breaks, and so I went through the rest of 2017 trying to recover from that heart, surgery, the chest surgery, and all that. I was hairless, I was skinny, I was physically unable to do anything. I was struggling a lot trying to keep myself going. And then by that December 2017, I ended up, we found out kind of by accident, I had what's called a cardiac tamponade, which is essentially when your heart's pericardial sac fills up with fluid and
Mhm.
your heart starts to collapse inside of it. And what happened for me is that we found it. I had a basic echocardiogram. They called me up. They're like, you got to go to the emergency room now. I went there. By the time I got there, my heart was literally collapsing under
Wow.
1 liter of fluid. So I was rushed into emergency surgery. They had to puncture me. I was awake the whole time. They had to drain all the fluid out. Kept me in the hospital for a week. A week later, I had another surgery. This time they went in and they created what's called a pericardial window, which is
Mhm.
about a silver dollar size hole in the bottom of my heart sac so that it can drain fluid if it should ever build up again.
Mhm.
And so that was really, those heart surgeries were really traumatic on my body.
Mhm.
And I thought I was doing well with recovery, but those surgeries kicked my butt. And for all of 2018, I was essentially trying to just find my way back. So that's sort of the physical aspects of everything I went through. But your question was more based on, how did I deal with it? What was my resiliency and how did I overcome? What that happened before I even moved into the hospital on day one, though. It really took a lot of reflecting, a lot of deep meditation and chanting, and just trying to go inward and try to say, why is this happening? And how can I react differently?
Mhm.
And it's really when I was in that space and I really allowed everything to sort of flow through me and I surrendered, it's when the words started to swirl in my brain. I started to hear embrace and love and free. And I realized that I was being essentially given a gift of a philosophy that I
Mhm.
could use as a 3-step method essentially to overcome this challenge. And it started right there with when I said embrace. What does this mean? I started right away. How do I embrace this? Okay, that means I got to own this. I got to own my cancer. I have to accept it. And so that, like, I think the first step to any obstacle we face is understanding that we have to accept it. Even if we don't like it, even if we're not at fault, it's like we have this challenge, it's not
Mhm.
going away. So you can't live in denial and pretend and wish it away. You have to
Mhm.
own it and say, okay, I embrace it. I honor this situation I'm in. And I'm going to stand upright and I'm going to figure out how I can do this the best way I can,
Mhm.
because that's the only option I have. I can fall down and die, or I can stand tall and be proud and find the meaning for this and the reason for this and the silver lining and what can I do with it that could be a benefit even.
Mhm.
And so that's where embrace started. And I coupled that with the love aspect, meaning like, I had a tumor inside of my chest.
Mhm.
So everyone was like, Justin, kick its butt, F cancer and all these things. And I'm like, but that doesn't resonate with me. That sounds violent
Mhm.
and it sounds like it going against who I am. I realized that, my tumor was my own cells. It was part of my own body.
Mhm.
Why would I hate something that was part of me?
Mhm.
That to me, that made no sense. Why would I create this war inside of my own body? I have to love my body and love all my cells, even the cells that aren't doing what they were programmed to do. I still have to love that they are part of me. So I
Mm,
took that route and I said, I love you. I even talked to my tumor. I called him JT, short for Justin's tumor.
mhm,
I told him I loved him. I told him, I thank you. You're my mentor. You've taught me so much. I mean, having the tumor, it opened my eyes to things that I never would have seen without it. So I had
wow.
to be eternally grateful because of the situation I was in. I didn't have to love it. I
Mhm,
didn't feel good. The chemo kicked my ass. You know, the treatments were hard. The pain was there. It was a really, really rough go. So I'm not trying to make light of having cancer or the situation,
mhm,
but it was something that I knew that either I could hate it or I could love it. I have to make the choice. What perspective, Justin, are you going to take? Are you going to love and appreciate and be in gratitude for every second you have alive right now? Or are you going to lay there and play victim and say,
mhm,
why me? And just suffer. And I suffered as it was. So I'm going to find the positivity. And that allowed me to find the light, and it allowed me to find the benefit, and it allowed me to continue to elevate myself spiritually and vibrationally, and
mhm.
to keep able to download messages of hope and help. And I was doing live videos on Facebook and YouTube all throughout on the darkest of days. I put the camera on, I still, did the deal. And I
Mhm.
shared everything I was going through because I knew
Wow.
that my experience could help other people, cancer, illness, or other. And so that was a really big driving factor, is knowing that the more I keep going, the farther this journey keeps going. Every time I make the choice to find the love, I learn a lesson and I can share that lesson. And by knowing that I can grow as a human in ways I never could have grown and
Mhm.
help other people on a level I never could have helped, let me continue to push myself to live,
Wow.
and to show up every day for the treatments, to stick it out all the way through, to make it all the way to the end, and not just get to the end, but hit that step 3, which I call free, where
Mhm.
I had to finally realize that I had to free myself of this obstacle, free myself of the cancer, energetically, and free myself of the idea of being a cancer patient,
Mhm.
and say, okay, I can move forward now. I might be missing some parts of my anatomy. I might not be the same exact person I was physically when I went in, but I'm so much bigger and better emotionally, spiritually.
Mhm.
And now I can really free that story and move forward with a very clear mindset to take everything I've been through and wrap it into as many ways of sharing the message with others as I can.
Wow. That's so
So
powerful.
hopefully that's the story in a pretty tight little ball there. But
Mhm.
in essence of time, I wanted to kind of give you A to Z and a little bit of detail in between.
I love it. I really love it. Like what's coming to me right now, Justin, is in spring 2017. You were like physically fit. You were totally like embracing your life, and you are looking for more opportunity. And bang, that's cancer tumor you found out that you have. It just like almost changed everything for you. You just like realize there is a tumor and it's keep growing and even affecting your heart and stuff like that. But what keep you pushing, what keep you going is just your mindset, your positivity, instead of just facing it and say, why it's me? Why it's me? But who else I would call? As Alice Brown said once, when we say to obstacle, when it comes to us, why it's me, but name someone I can send it to.
Right.
So it is really the mindset. And there is a saying that I saw a few days ago. It's a rejection is God protection to put us in the right direction.
Mm,
And that's really powerful because it resonates big time with your story, Justin, because hope and resiliency and rebirth, it's just like phoenix the bird. You're just like raising under ashes. You're just like owning it. And that's probably what helped you a lot. You own it, you accept it.
mm,
You didn't say why it's me and you stay there as a victim, but you loved your body. You were talking to the tumor as like part of you and accepting it. And that's why you raised from there and you accept it. And you knew that sometimes we have a saying in Arabic in Morocco. We say God choose his people, and he know they can handle obstacle when he gave
mm,
it to them, and he want to see how strong they are. And because he loved them, he gave them that to wake up. And when they learn the lesson, that problem won't happen again. But if they don't learn the lesson, it will keep coming. And
mhm,
that's what you did. You learn from it and you accept it, and you didn't act from a place of hate, because Martin Luther said once, darkness cannot drive darkness out. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive hate out. Only love can do that. And
Hmm.
that's really powerful what you did. And now you managed to get out from that spot. Now I think you are a cancer free man, right?
I am
And
cancer free.
congratulations, my friend. That's
Thank
really
you.
amazing, and that's really powerful because we are sharing a lot of people listening now, and they see that there is hope when you have the positive mindset. There is a way out when we really focus and accepting and not deny it and not saying, "Why it's me." You surrender. You use that word. I love it. Powerful. I surround. You said, and when you surround to that, you accept what was coming to me, and I embrace it. And that will bring us. You wrote a book. It's called "Embrace Love Free: 3 Steps to Overcome Any Obstacle." Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that book, Justin.
Well, I'm going to correct you and say I didn't write a book. I am writing a book.
All right,
That
you
is the
sorry,
current.
sorry.
I'm right in the middle. No, all good. It's a huge project to undertake, and
Okay.
I originally decided, and first I want to just step us back one minute here, because everything you said was beautiful, and how we recap, the things that I did to keep going forward. But I don't want to sugarcoat it and saying that, oh, I just decided one day I'm going to embrace and love, and everything was
Hmm.
great. Like, I struggled a lot in the beginning. I really did. I mean, at first, honestly, what really pissed me off more than anything was that I had to like stop pursuing my work and my dreams
Hmm.
and to deal with this. I'm like, I don't want to deal with it right now. I'm busy. I have stuff going on,
Yeah.
and I hated it. I had to quit 2 bands. I had to tell all my acting agents, my theatrical, my commercial agents, listen, I can't go on any auditions for a while. You got to take me off the books. I had to stop working on the film that we were going to develop. I had to literally stop everything. And that aggravated me. And, at first I was just, I was pissed, and I dealt with a lot of anger. And even as I was embracing and loving and going through it, there were days where I literally felt raw anger at
Hmm.
people, at the situation. And that's okay. I want to stress that we're humans and we have this ability to experience all the emotions, and everything is just and valid. We just need to understand that, you got to just step away and take a look at why I'm angry. Feel the anger, express the anger, but don't get consumed by the anger. Step
Hmm.
outside and look at it. Okay, this is why. Let me work through it. Let me find a reason and a lesson and keep going. But it's not going to be easy. Like, don't not understand. Like, my journey was challenging. I almost died a couple times. I had days where I was really pissed off at the world, and days that I didn't even think I wanted to live. Like, I literally was like, I don't even think I can anymore. And those are all, normal experiences. But as long as you have that home base, that foundation, you know how to return to it. You got to keep coming back, because our obstacles are supposed to be hard. Otherwise, if we can just get through them easily, there's no lesson to be learned. And then, like you said,
Exactly.
you mentioned about, God chooses you. Like when you're only given the amount of challenge that you are ready to have.
Hmm.
And when I was ready, at the point I was like yelling, I'm ready, before cancer came, because I was ready to step into the next greatest of myself. And in my book, in my TED talk, in my one-man theatrical show, I yell, I am ready, near the beginning of the show, because I was literally doing that to the world and really feeling it throughout my body. I am ready. And then I got cancer. And it's like, and for a while I was like, wait a minute, this is not what I meant. Like, what are you doing? But like, I was declaring that I was ready to take on this challenge. Everything I had been doing in my life all brought me to that place, and I was ready to step into that greatest challenge that I would have. And I declared it, and I was ready, and I stepped in, and I was given the challenge that I was ready to face. And that's really, the sort of beginning of the story from my show, my TED talk, and my book. It all comes to that place where everything was going a certain way, and I was ready. And I kick it back to, I had been working out my whole life, physically taking care of my body, eating very healthy, vegan since 2011. Spiritual, personal development, healing development, emotional healing, chanting and Buddhism and all kinds of spirituality, and just all these different practices that I brought in and things that I had done over the years really set me up to be ready to take it on. And so I say in my book and everywhere else, like, don't wait until something is wrong before you start taking care of yourself. Because I
Mm.
really believe that all the things that I had been doing, and this is part of my book and part of the stories, all the things I had been doing over the years prepared me to face this obstacle. a lot of people, like, suddenly they're sick and then they find God, or they have a heart problem and then they start changing their diet. It's
Mhm.
like it's almost too late. I mean, not always. I mean, yes,
Mhm.
now is better than never, but like, imagine if you changed it years ago. Now, even though I couldn't avoid my cancer because of the kind of cancer it was, after my diagnosis, my doctor said to me, listen, everything you're doing for your diet, your workouts, everything you're doing, please keep it up, because you are in better health than anybody we've had come through here. And if anybody's going to survive this, you're the guy. So not only did I survive, but I was able to take on these treatments that could have really kicked my butt and really taken them to a place where I was able to make it through without as much maybe damage as someone else who wasn't in that position. So that's a big part about, what I talk about in the book. And then, of course, the book, it's called Embrace Love Free, 3 Steps to Overcome Any Obstacle. My
Mhm.
TED Talk is called 3 Steps to Overcome Any Obstacle. And my one man show is called Embrace Love Free. So you see, I got the branding down. And so the show is very theatrical and comedy and music and poetry. The TED Talk is very academic, and the book
Mhm.
is a combination of the two.
Mm.
So it's a self-help book, but it's also a memoir. So I guess it's a teaching memoir would be the best way to describe it. And I give us a lot of backstory of my life, because we need to know how I got to where I am today. What are the decisions I made, the things I had been through, the things I had overcome in my past, and how I did so really, kind of set us up for the day that I get the diagnosis. And then from there, I tell the whole story of my cancer journey, but then I weave in this more detailed sort of how-to of the 3-step method of embrace, love, and finally free. So it really gives us a full story, my story, and the 3 steps. And I'm about more than a third. I'm almost a half, I would say, done with the book now. I had started writing it actually in 2018. I started writing the first notes for the book, but then I was inspired to make a one-man show, which I felt was a little more timely. And so I put the book down for a minute, and I
Mhm.
developed this one-man show where I took all the videos that I did live during my journey and I added them into these little sort of minute-long, fast-hitting clips. And I told a story on stage where I played characters, did live drums and music, did poetry, and then we'd cut back and forth to the screen where the actual live stuff that was happening during the day kind of helped, tie the story all together from what I was playing on stage. And so that show took precedence, and I put the book aside to get that show up on its feet. It was a 90-minute show. I played it 5 times in 2019, and it will be coming up again as part of the Solo Fest streaming festival at the end of February. And so that was really a magical thing that I got to do and share and experience and share with people. And um, when I was in the middle of doing that year of the show, that's when I also got accepted to do my first TED Talk, TEDx Talk. And
Mhm.
so again, I know my book kept getting pushed. I did a TEDx Talk in November of 2019. I flew out to Chicago, went down to Illinois State University. It's called TEDx Normal. And I did a really cool TEDx talk about the Embrace Love Free. Very interesting. We talk about obstacles that my talk a few months later, when all the talks got uploaded to YouTube from TEDx and TED, my talk got flagged and banned. And so my talk never saw the light of day. They
Really?
claimed that it was too faith based, it was in healing and too spiritual in a sense. So that was a big obstacle I had to overcome. Also, like, I'm on the other side and I'm still
Mhm.
facing obstacles. But that really channeled me to say, hey, you know what? Whether that talk ever comes out or not, I have a bigger story to tell and a bigger message to give. And that's when I pulled my book back out and I started really committing to that everyday writing, everyday writing, everyday writing, even if it's a little bit. And I've been working on it diligently up until recently, where I was asked by TEDx again to join them and do another talk. So
Wow.
again, I had to put the book on hold for a few weeks. And then I started developing my new TED Talk, where it's essentially the same concept and format of what I did before, but now it's very academic. And I back a lot of science up with what I'm saying. Even when I talk about meditation and stuff, I'm really giving it a very more academia take on the talk. So it's the same message. I didn't sell out. It's just basically delivered with a different style and to a different audience. And so that's coming out now this month, and now I'm back on the book again, so that I can really focus on driving that home. But writing a book is, I mean, you've done that, right? It's a
A
big
lot of work.
undertaking, right?
My book
I
it
mean,
started in 2017. I just finished in 2020. So
right. See,
back
there you
and
go. I
forth.
mean,
It's
and some writers would consider that a fast turnaround. Some people 5 to 10 years on a book. I mean, I think that's a little long, but I mean, yeah,
Mhm.
you got to write it, you got to rewrite it, you got to edit it, you got to re-edit it, and then you got to send it to editors and then take their notes. I mean,
Oh yeah,
it's a big, but when it's done, that is a piece of history,
big time.
and that's why I'm still dedicated to creating the book, is because I know that the speeches I'm doing, the talks I'm giving, and the podcasts I'm doing are all great, and they're letting
Mhm.
people kind of hear me and what this message is. But to
Mhm.
really understand the story and to really dive in deep to learn how to apply these 3 steps to our own lives, which I really feel can be so beneficial to so many.
Mhm.
The book is really where those details come into play, where you really understand how to start, apply that to your everyday thing. And I truly think that, we're not just overcoming our individual obstacles, but as we take a different perspective on the obstacles we face, every time we choose to take that higher road, we raise the vibration a little bit around us, a little more around
Mm.
us. And then people around us become affected more positively. And you think about it, I really want to see that ripple effect of people all just trying to find the higher road, because I mean, we're taking that down, that spiraling victimhood way too much and way too easily. And we're in a world that sort of rewards you for that. People like to get on social media and just complain, like stop contributing to the negativity, and enlighten. Tell us how you're learning from your obstacle. Don't complain about your obstacle. Like
Mhm.
those two, that can spiral into such a big elevation of our vibrational shifts, or it can take us way down and create more darkness. And that energy flows big or small. So it's really up to every one of us to do our collective part in
Mhm.
making the world a better place. And that's a really big desire, but it's a hope that we can do it a little at a time, one person at a time.
Mm. Love it, love it. I really love like embrace the three step, embrace, love, free, because it's connecting and they complete each other. Because when you embrace something, you are actually accepting it, and you are surrounding, and from that you are growing some love to it. And when you grow love, you become free and you become yourself. And that's it's funny you say that, because my tagline that I use for every talk or every thing on my show on YouTube, I said, live fully, love openly, and be yourself.
Mm.
That's my tagline, because to live fully, you have to accept life as it is, as Oprah said. When you say yes to life, you say yes to its experiences, either bad or good.
Right.
And live fully, love openly, like you love people unconditionally, and be yourself. A lot of people try to be somebody else, not themselves, and that's why they get sad, they get upset, they get all that stuff. But when you really focus on be yourself, you become the person or the best version of yourself. And
True.
for the book, it just reminded myself, like it keep pushing and pushing. And it's funny, when I was writing my book, and I was writing in one agenda, and I turned the page, and they see September 2017, like the day I was writing, like in 2020. And I turned the page, it said 2017, September, no, November 17. An idea crossed my mind to write a book. And it said, that's meaningful. Like it said to me, remind me, like 3 years from there to now, I'm just writing it. And they said to myself, you know what? October 10, 2020 at 10:10, I'm finishing that book, because that's my birthday and that's my gift to myself. I am going to gift myself. And I start writing. I finish it exactly at 10:10, October 10th. And it's
Wow.
just a cab driver. Yeah, it's amazing. Just a cab driver, my journey from behind the wheel to behind the microphone. And that's
Nice.
that's what I'm sharing with Dord, my gift, my calling. And you mentioned it earlier, like by be the change you want to see in the world, by
Mhm.
sharing your story. It could
Mm.
be your story could save someone else's life, by seeing that you manage to get out from there. And it's not easy, it's not sugarcoating, as you said. Like there is pain, there is hardship, but pain, something that's happened to us, we can't avoid it. But sufferance is something that we choose to suffer. Because if we lose
Mm.
someone, and we keep going back, revisiting that feeling, We keep saying, oh, I lost that friend, I lost that, I lost that, but we keep feeling that. But pain is something that we can't avoid, and sufferance is something that we can avoid if we want to. And with the
Mm.
mindset, as Justin shared, with embracing, with love, and with freedom. And I see you are also an actor, my friend, director, actor at SAG AFTRA, and co-owner, director, and producer at Tree Cube Studio. Uh,
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. I know, like, it's hard to squeeze everything there,
Yeah,
but
I know. It's good stuff though.
like, I'm
Well,
really
for
happy.
starters,
I'm really happy. Like when I see story like this, it's giving me goosebumps, because it's God is great, because He's putting
mm,
us through this path, and He know that we are capable of that. And sharing this with people is moving, because we've been in the darkness and now we are in the light. So we know the meaning of darkness and we know
mm,
the meaning of light. So we taste both. So we share it with people. It's kind of give you like, you feel the impact for people, you feel your pain, but at the same time, you build the muscle that you give them advice, but you don't want them just like the kind of sugarcoat them, but you want them, each one have their own journey, and each one need to go through it, but they need to have the attitude and the mindset.
mhm. Amazing. Well, for starters, I want to just mention something from what you said a second ago, because you mentioned your book and the day that you picked to have it done, October 10th, 10:10. My birthday is October 7 at 11:48 p.m. So
Really? Wow.
we're very close in that Libra birthday month and the days. And so like awesome, happy birthday, Libra brother.
Thank you.
And you're so right about, you got to declare the date. And I did that with my book, and I declared the date that I'd have it done. But then, I ended up with 6 video jobs and a TED talk to do. So I had to, forgive myself for not finishing it by my December 2020 deadline.
Mhm.
But I was only giving myself a few months out at that point. I wasn't giving myself years. I was giving myself like 3 months, and I didn't come in at it, but I knew I was being aggressive. But you got to have that skin in the game, you got to put the stake in the sand, if you will, if you want to have something done, because I'll write a book one day is one thing. I'll have a book finished by this date at this time means that you got to, commit to that and stuff. So I applaud you for that. I think that's a really smart and powerful thing to do.
Thank you.
Now you asked me about, we can talk for a long time about all my professional creative endeavors. I mean, I have been a professional artist for many years. That's all I've ever done as far as, after college and in the work. I've always been working in television production, film production, music, acting, etc. And I'm very blessed and fortunate that I've been able to sustain a career and thrive doing a combination of all those things. It's good to combine them, because one area could be up, one area could be down.
Hmm.
But what's really interesting about the life of an artist, especially when you're pursuing, on the biggest stages possible in film and Hollywood, and touring with bands and all the different things, is that you are really setting yourself up for a lot of obstacles.
Hmm.
I could have easily gone another route. I was given opportunities to take jobs that paid fairly well, 6-figure income, to work as a general job that I went to 9 to 5, 5 days a week, etc., where it'll have a few ups and a few downs, but it's kind of right in the middle. It's pretty safe with a few exceptions. But when I dove into this field, there is no guarantees. And there I found myself on top of the world into the bottom of the ocean, because of the artistic ways I've been through. And I think it really helped build that resiliency of having to continuously overcome and overcome, because I was going for something so much bigger, and I was pushing myself to keep going no matter what rejection I faced or what happened or what knocked me down. I cleaned myself up. I got pissed off and fired up, and I got back to work, and I kept going. Like I've been in Los Angeles for a long time now, and I was trying to get into the acting business for a few years, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I was having a little hard time navigating the field. I started playing drums in some bands. I put acting aside for a little bit. Now I'm playing with different groups. I got kicked out of a couple bands. That was heartbreaking, but then it taught me to sit down and really, really hone in on my skills.
Hmm.
And I got back up, and I got another band. I ended up with one band touring Europe twice and touring all over America and owning our own tour bus and really, releasing some records. And I really got to experience a lot of fun in the music world and build that up and play as a hired gun with a lot of other bands throughout the years and a lot of festivals. And I really got to experience some beautiful musical performances over the days. And then acting wise too, I fought for so long and things weren't happening. And then boom, one day in early 2007, I auditioned for a little film called Surfer Dude with Matthew McConaughey. And he was the guy running the auditions with the director. And we just vibed and everything just seemed to really be really like really cool in the room. And he brought me back for a callback and we vibed again. And then I got hired. And so, McConaughey gave me my first acting role and I got to do 3 scenes with him in this film. And it was a great experience and I really, really enjoyed. And that was sort of like my kind of start into the more bigger projects and stuff. Even though I didn't, I was on the high of doing this big film and then everything dropped out again. And I had nothing for another several years. It was like, what's it going to take, right? But like in 2012 I started to find my footing again, and I'd been doing little projects, little films and things up to then, but then all of a sudden I got into my first national commercial, and then I booked another and another. I ended up putting 6 national commercials on over a few years time, and as a principal actor, and started getting roles in other films, a couple TV things, a lot of music on camera gigs. Then I eventually wrote and starred in my own film called Welcome to Where You've Always Been, which is currently available on Amazon Prime. If anybody wants to watch it.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. And if you go to welcome to where you've always been.com, that'll take you right to the Amazon page. And that's a story I wrote about overcoming, it's about a spoken word artist who suffers from depression and suicidality and has to find hope in his struggles, in his journey, and overcome and make a big decision about life and hope and what he's going to do. And that was, message driven piece to help people going through darkness and depression. Took that on the festival run, and that was part of 3 Cube Studios. My wife Mary Lou and I, do these projects together. We are developing some documentaries right now that we're going to be doing. We had them scheduled to do, but last year everything got kicked to the side for obvious reasons. So we're waiting to get back out there to start shooting the documentaries. But one of them is going to be a kind of cancer related story called Caregiving Cancer, which is a story about the caregivers of cancer patients and really giving hope and inspiration and advice and resources to the caregivers, because there are so many of them. For every cancer patient, there's a caregiver. My wife was my caregiver. And we really feel that there's a need and a niche for this particular message. That's one of the 2 films we're doing. And we do a lot of corporate video jobs and a lot of photography jobs. And so we've been busy. We opened this company back in 2011. So I've been basically balancing running a business in a studio at the same time playing music and pursuing acting. And once 2017 came around, I got my diagnosis, everything got, pushed aside. And it's been a bit of a battle coming back from that. I'll be honest. Like, I still play drums. I play drums in my one-man show. I've got my great DW.
There we go.
Me here. There it is. Bang. The end. But you know what? I had another group that actually wanted to hire me to play. They play, like more of a hard punk sort of thing. And I started working the tunes, and I realized that I just didn't have enough stamina to do it. My body I'm a missing part of my lung. I get out of breath a little easier. My fingers get a little numb and stuff from the chemo. So I'm sort of readapting my style and how I play and the kinds of music I play before I dive back into another band again. But I've not been in a band since 2017. And so, it is what it is. I did get back out there in the acting world, though. I did a really cool film that was all in Romanian, essentially my part was all in Romanian. It was English and Romanian film. And I played a character. I had to learn Romanian.
Oh, nice. I have a lot of friends from Romania.
Yeah, I have my great grandmother was from Romania as well, so I guess I'm part Romanian.
Nice.
But I played and then this was not too long after I finished my whole cancer journey. So I was all like, my scars were really bright and my hair was barely back, and I just kind of looked all messed up, and that's kind of like fit the role. They really liked that look. So I played this really bad guy character in this cool film. It's not even out yet. And then I did another film where I played a small part in. So I've had a few projects that I've gotten to work on. And again, 2020 kind of kicked everybody's butt as far as the industry goes. And so I'm just getting up every day and just taking the opportunities that come my way. And Again, it's going to be, filmmaking, it's going to be speaking, it's going to be my TED talk, it's going to be my book,
Or
and should the acting and
talking
music
about
gigs.
speaking, my friend. I'm organizing another summit. I love to have you on the next one. I'm saying it live
Cool.
now. There, next one
I
in
love
May,
it, man. All right, I'm down.
100%.
Yeah.
And
So
I really love like to keep going for this thought and sharing with you more. Time is up, my friend, and they really
okay.
would like to do another time. And this is like so deep what you share with me here, and it's so profound how you return your life from, as I said, like from the bottom of the ocean to the top of the world. And
Yep.
you did that with gratitude. You did that from a place of love. You did that from a place of surrounding and accepting. And I think that's when we accepting. It's like attitude. It's just like you can't go anywhere with a bad attitude, just like a flat tire. If we have a bad attitude, we will go nowhere because we will be miserable because we're already suffering from something. Why we will make it miserable if we're already suffering from it? So might as well just take and be positive and make the best out of it. What is the last thing you would like to share, my friend Justin, with this beautiful audience, and a few words to share before we finish this this
Wow.
beautiful podcast?
The pressure is on, right? I mean, all I can say is, we're living in a very unprecedented time. I don't have to even say that. And we're being faced with, challenges on top of our current challenges that we've already had, right? So my message is just really, despite what we're thrown at, and as hard as we struggle, keep looking up, keep seeking the better, keep finding the silver lining, the message, and the benefit, because everything's going to kind of come in there and try to kick our ass and knock us down. And this world is designed to do that. And our job is to overcome, overcome, overcome. And so whatever you're facing now and for the rest of your life, look at it from a different perspective, try to see things a different way, try to understand why this may be happening to you, not saying why me, but why is this happening? Seek the answers. Stay in a place of positivity, and always remember that when you overcome something very hard, when you face that struggle and you win in that adversity, even if, as hard as it gets, you keep going, you keep going. When you win and you learn and you overcome that obstacle, not only are you going to be a better person in so many ways that will not only allow you to face more obstacles, but get out there and actually live fuller, but you will be able to help other people, even if it's one person and that person helps another person. So whenever you're facing something really hard, really see how the benefit overcoming what you're doing can have such a profound effect on both you and other people. And let that be the driving factor and inspiration to just keep getting up every day and keep seeking that higher resolution, keep looking up and keep going forward. Stay in love, preach love, stay in gratitude. And I have great appreciation, love, and gratitude to you, Ali, and to this show, and to your audience, and to anybody out there. It just come from that open space, that open heart, and really watch how the world around you changes, and it will be profound and magical.
Mm. Wow, that's very powerful. Thank you very much, my friend, my brother, for sharing
Yes,
this. This is very profound, very powerful.
amazing.
And Ali Dose of Inspiration always bring guests from all over the world to share story of hope, resiliency, and rebirth. Until then, we'll see you for the next episode.